Welcome to Product Momentum, a community of thought leaders and learners coming together to celebrate the product people who are shaping our way ahead. Inspired by our most pressing questions and insightful guests, we'll explore the challenges you face and offer practical, hands-on guidance your team can implement today. This is Product Momentum. Here are your hosts, Sean Flaherty and Sean Murray.
We're here at Industry in Cleveland, Ohio. We just had a great conversation with Brad Eiben, who runs the product management program at Carnegie Mellon. What an incredible opportunity to have him on the podcast. What do you think, Sean?
That was super unique. I don't know if we've had a podcast like that, right? This is going to be an all new episode. I think there's a completely new topics that we've never discussed before. Applying product management to education was really kind of like cool. A novel concept. Brad's doing some awesome stuff.
I think the audience is going to love it. I think he's a great guest. He's got a lot of great thought leadership to share and some great ideas. So let's get after it.
Let's do it.
All right, we're excited to be interviewing Brad Eiben from Carnegie Mellon University. What's your official title there?
I'm the executive director of the MS in Product Management program.
All right, well, I met him at the bar last night. Yeah. It's always the beginning of a great story with me. We had some incredible conversations. I figured it'd be awesome to have some of those conversations here live in front of the audience so they could benefit from them as well.
Certainly.
Yeah. So you have a storied, long history in design thinking, product management.
Yeah. So it's interesting, and I always talk about how a lot of people don't realize that so many PM principles come from they derive from Toyota principles, and That's where I started my career. Is actually in mechanical engineering at a Toyota factory in manufacturing, as dirty as you can get, but everything the problem solving methodology, no one there. At least in those days, no one called it design thinking. It was about how do we create value and what is product management in the end.
Yeah. Love that. We talked about getting close to the customer. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's Warren Buffett or one of his, might have been Charlie Munger. It says, whoever gets closest to the customer wins. Right?
Yeah. And solves problems.
That's right. That's like a product management mantra.
Yeah, it should be.
Yeah.
The best PMs, at least. Yeah.
So your role at Carnegie Mellon.
Yeah.
Talk about that a little bit.
Yeah. So as we mentioned, I'm the executive director of the MS in Product Management program. And the first reflex should be, what in the world's an MS in Product Management program? That's exactly what we are. We're focused on product management specifically, which separates us from, there are a lot of business degrees, there are a lot of tech degrees, right? There are a lot of business and tech degrees. None of those really have the third element, which is the design thinking and the practical application. So that's what we strive to create, is a really hands-on. I always describe the program itself as being a training program, not an academic program. Okay. And the difference being, get your hands dirty, get in there and do the thing rather than read a book about the thing, if that makes sense.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So I direct the program, which means basically the program is my product.
Yeah.
Everything from a good way to think about an academic program as a product is it's a marketplace. We are creating value for the incoming students, giving them credentials, giving them career boosts, if you will. We're also the students are a product that we're creating for employers.
For the market.
Yeah. So we're right in the middle of that, and we have stakeholders on both sides of those, and balancing them. And that includes everything from the incoming material, that's your admissions department.
Yeah.
The product the experience, which is the curriculum, student life, all these things, and career support, which is like before they even start as students, we're training them on networking and resume reviews and all these things. So it's the only way to think about it successfully, or in terms that are creating value, is to think of it as a product and an experience, more a service than a product, but that entire experience, including marketing the program, including everything, well, also including administration and the boring stuff, but that's, we'll not dive too deep into that.
I like that approach of like treating your education as a proof of concept. You have this hypothesis that this is what you want to do, right? So you're actually going to go in there and you're not going to just learn about it and take tests. You're going to actually practically go and do that.
Yeah. And that's so much of our fortunate. I'm blessed with great professors, teachers, instructors. They bring real world cases. A lot of the classes are partnering with companies, even in the course of like a service design class or something.
Okay.
That you would think is, okay, there's some exercises. We'll just kind of do the same thing every year, but that's not the case. It's like very, very practical, hands-on, and you don't have to wonder after you've finished a lecture, how does this apply in the real world?
Right, because it's contextual to now.
Yeah. On top of that, though, it's interesting to think about bringing it back to managing, directing the program through a product lens.
Yeah.
Every one of those elements that I described, admissions, marketing, there's a ton of experimentation involved because there are not other product management programs, which means we can't do what the MBAs do. We can't do what the rest of academia does in order to create our identity and our brand. We have to experiment with different ways of, like, most schools, when it comes to marketing, they'll advertise on Google and do the recruiting fairs and that type of thing. But what we've done instead is experimented with, we partner with organizations like Women in Tech, which we take part in their conferences just like this. And that gives us a very motivated audience to get our message to.
Yeah, you're distinguishing yourselves from all the other programs.
Yeah,
you may or may not know this, but Carnegie Mellon's product program is pretty renowned in our industry. You've done a good job. I'm just saying.
I like to think that, but still, the idea that there is no category for product management programs.
You're the first.
Yeah.
Kind of establish the flag, put the flag out there, and there seems like it's gone quite well. And you know, one of the things we talked about last night is how you've actually you've capped the number of students you'll take.
Yeah.
Which I don't know if it's artificial or not, but you've created a forcing function for sort of getting high quality people who are really focused on that space.
It also creates the experience as well. You're not a name and a number. In its ideal form, and I talked to them even at orientation about this, is like this journey is a team sport. Like, you're not a lone wolf, you're part of a wolf pack if you approach it correctly. And you're not fighting with each other for the same job interview. You're fighting with the rest of society. And if you take your skills and combine them and support each other, like the effect is 10 times. And we see that frequently, especially, every population of people has the leaders that sort of rise to the top and shepherd everybody else.
It's the power law, right?
Yeah.
It applies to every industry, right? It's very cool.
Yeah.
Well, like I said, you guys have done a great job. So
thanks.
It's out.
I really appreciate that.
So what do you say in this space? You've only been doing this for a handful of years. There's been a lot of change in our industry as well.
Yeah.
Like a lot of change, which I think begs the question about, like, should we be more philosophical or should we be more hands-on? Like, if in an industry that's changing as fast as ours, I think you kind of have to be hands-on.
I think, I think that's true. And, well, this is sort of a very recent anecdote, but, it's not uncommon at all. So in the summer, our students go to internships and they're working with real companies and various sizes, industries, all that kind of stuff. And before they embarked to their internships, they were still on campus. We had a prep session where it was how to succeed at your internship.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I preached at that time, which I also preach just all the time, was if you're given a problem to explore, well, first don't start with the solution, but first explore it. But if that problem lends itself to being in the field, to going to see and put your hands on whatever the problem itself is, that should be the first thing you do.
Yes.
And
Absolutely. We preach about this in the product space, but we don't do it.
Yeah.
Not all the time.
But one of our interns, I think she might even be here. She did that, early on, first week or two within the internship experience. Then fast forward to the end of summer, she was rehired or given a job offer full time as a result. And they told, that's how you knock the socks off of your manager, because that's not it's very comfortable to sit at your desk.
Yeah.
It's very comfortable to solve a problem that you're imagining, but to actually question the reality of what I'm being tasked with
and go talk to real humans out there in the field with real problems.
Yeah, it's such a differentiator.
To understand the landscape and the context.
And so often to come back to your manager and say, that's not the real problem.
Yeah, that's a differentiator for sure.
Yeah.
Neat. We also talked last night about cognitive biases in the industry, and not just the industry, but in life in general. Yeah. So what's your take on their application to product development and to our domain?
I think it fits our current line of discussion, where the best product managers can be given a task or be looking for improvement ideas or new innovative features, whatever it might be. But if they can't detach themselves at the beginning from their pursuit, they can't adequately, survey bias. You can't survey a population of users or customers and get usable data, or realistically or reliably usable data, if your survey is leading them in the direction you want them to go in the first place.
Yeah.
And it's almost like you should take your first survey draft and throw it out the window and know that I should not be asking these questions and start it. You have to, being agnostic to these things is a core skill.
It is a core skill. Cognitive bias, understanding cognitive biases for product leadership, I think is a core skill, because it clouds everything.
Yeah.
And we're just wired. I think it was Dan Kahneman that proved you can teach people about the cognitive bias and they're still going to have the cognitive bias. We know it's a bias, but we still do it.
Yeah. That's where finding a good coworkers or editors or somebody who will tell you the truth, even if it hurts, and say, okay, this is my draft. Tear it to pieces. And very few people are comfortable enough or confident enough, or their ego is too fragile to really
honest.
to say, okay, tear this apart. Tell me all the places those have been, I've had some very trusted coworkers that I had no doubt that if I give them draft one, I'm gonna have some tears, but I'm gonna have something much better at the end.
Yeah, they're gonna give you some real feedback.
Yeah.
Without the puffer fishing is what I call it.
Yeah.
Interesting.
That's a part of a core skill of what we have as product people, is to no fear of being wrong, right? Because we're going to be wrong a lot.
Yeah.
We're trying new things,
part of the
right?
game.
And if you're getting that as a part of your college experience, it's invaluable.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. And that's getting back to the other, that's what's so cool about this PM program within the context of the CMU University. Like, you have this old traditional thing, and then you have this small entrepreneur pocket. And my team and I are all on board that, okay, we know we have this job to be done. Let's throw out some ideas as to what no one has ever done before to get there. And it's when you don't, if you either learn or you fail, right? Or you either succeed or you learn. There's
you got to learn, got to adapt.
Yeah.
That's one thing that's always true in our industry, is you never know what's coming around the corner. You got to constantly be adapting, pivoting.
Yeah.
Pivots, the verb pivot is an important, distinction in the product leadership space, for sure.
It's interesting because we do capstone projects in the final semester with the students, and I work with the companies to sort of craft and refine and articulate what the problem statements will be for these projects. And one of the things I tell them is, and I instruct the students when they get started is, okay, it's best to be somewhat open-ended. And if you change gears halfway through, that's normally the best type of project.
That's the nature of our business. And if you can, that's amazing.
That's the purpose of research.
Yeah.
So, you spoke earlier about kind of like applying product management to your actual program.
Yeah.
Right. So what's like the vision that you're setting? What are the objectives that you're setting? How are you like letting students know, like, this is our North Star. This is where we're trying to go.
Yeah. I'll give you the very high level because
that's what I want. I only want it high level. I'm not good enough to get the low level stuff yet.
My goals, my intentions, what I hope to accomplish goes far beyond my program's limitations. And by that, I mean, at Carnegie Mellon specifically, if you look at the resources that we have and you look at, if you were to do sort of a SWOT analysis of Carnegie Mellon University and product management, we obviously excel at technology. We excel at business. We excel at design. So the building blocks are there.
Yeah.
We also have, so not only that, but when we're talking about product management, we also have product designers. We have software engineers. We have the whole team right there at CMU. So the way that I look at product management and you might say academia in general is right now, if I were to say, where is the place for, what is the university that is the university for law? You might say Harvard, you might say something like that. If I say, what is the university that is the PM or the product university, that's not really claimed yet.
Right.
But we have so many, there's our program. There are other programs that are a little bit more engineering oriented that also produce product managers. We have an MBA that has a tech track. So we have these different flavors, and that's part of managing the program is what is the portfolio and where do we fit within that portfolio? Who are our users? Who are the MBA's users? But all that said, what I want to do with the product management program and with being at conferences like this, with our partner, our cousin programs, is establish CMU as the place for product. Like when a recruiter says, I need a product manager, we're on page one, and only if they strike out at CMU are they going to flip the page, kind of thing. And that, build a virtuous cycle of the best students, the best recruiters, the best students, the best recruiters, the best experience throughout all of that. That's the vision is when people think of product management, they think of Carnegie Mellon.
Yeah. That's awesome. And you said something that's absolutely true. Your vision exists like outside of the university, right? And like your product vision shouldn't be rooted in reality anyway.
Because we don't know what's coming, right?
Your product vision
our job is to
that's your
produce
long-term aspirational goal, right? You see like what's Instagrams is like to capture and share the world's moments, right? Like you see so many of these larger companies reference the world or Earth or, they stay outside of the realm of reality, right?
Yeah.
And they're studying their vision.
Interesting. So you mentioned something about surveys that struck me. So surveys, like trying to use surveys to collect product information so you can make better choices about your product.
Yeah.
And I think they can be useful, but I think they can also cause delusions. Like, I think that was the word you used, delusions, right? And I always think back to Margaret Mead's work. The quote from Margaret Mead, what people say, what people do, and what they say they will do are three completely independent things. When you think of surveys, they're so highly contextual to the moment you're taking the survey too. Like whatever happened in your day, all those cognitive biases are stacking up, and you answer the question based upon the mood that you're in, what's happening. Somebody cut you off at the corner before you came in to take the survey, all that stuff. But they're not really useful.
Yeah,
so you have to actually go watch human behavior.
Yeah, and even a bad interview is equally bad.
Sure.
The watching is, and I love watching for frustration.
Context.
Frustration is my favorite thing about observation. I was building a warehouse management system for a company I worked at, in-house usage. So I went out to the docks and talked to the guys that load the trucks.
Yeah.
And I walked up to him. I'm kind of new at the company. I walk up to him. I say, can you kind of walk me through a little bit about what you guys do back here? Because I'm working on this system that is totally broken. And he didn't say a word. He just shrugged his shoulders, looked down, and said, "Doesn't matter. Nobody ever listens to me." And that was just gold. That was just
frustration.
Okay, we definitely have something to work with.
We got some value to add to this equation for sure. Awesome. So Brad, what are you reading these days? What's got you excited in our space? What's I typically stick. Well, I guess there's two kind of answers to that. There's sort of the repeat items, like we talked yesterday about the book Influence. To me, you encounter these things every day, and you always, if you're thinking about, I could have played that encounter somewhat differently, or just going Cialdini, right?
Yeah, Cialdini. Going back to the basics on stuff like that. And then I'm a very natural introvert. I'm an engineer at heart. I wouldn't
have got that last night at the bar, by the way.
Nobody that I work with gets it. But after I give a lecture, I go collapse for 2 hours. But that's so I'm constantly working. This is in context. This is the persona. This is the result of reading books like Vanessa Van Edwards and talking about how to deal with interpersonal communications and these types of things that are there's a set of things that are natural skills and a set of things that are synthetic skills.
Adapted. You've adapted to them.
Yeah, I'm kind of always looking for practical synthetic skills.
Interesting.
Nice. We asked this of all of our guests. How do you define innovation?
I have a definition for this. Applying a tool or technique in a situation that it has not yet been applied.
Okay. Yeah. Very neat. Cool. Well, thank you for joining us, Brad. Yeah, you have thought about it. Obviously, this is what you spend a lot of your time thinking about. You're producing the product managers of the future. We appreciate the work that you're doing. It was really awesome conversation last night. And this is a great conversation to share with the audience. And I appreciate you. Thanks for joining us.
It's great to meet you guys here too.
And if you're out there, be careful. If you see Sean in the bar, you might end up
on the podcast.
I'll also say contact us if you want to hire our PMs. Contact us if you want to apply for the program.
All right.
Last second plug.
Perfect.
Well, that's it for today. In line with our goals of transparency and listening, we really want to hear from you. Sean and I are committed to reading every piece of feedback that we get, so please leave a comment or a rating wherever you're listening to this podcast. Not only does it help us continue to improve, but it also helps the show climb up the rankings so that we can help other listeners move, touch, and inspire the world just like you're doing. Thanks, everyone. We'll see you next episode.